Human trafficking is a booming international trade, making a lot of money at the expense of millions of victims who are robbed of their dignity and, of course, freedom. But it's good news to learn that governments, businesses, and, of course, NGOs, even citizens everywhere are just taking responsibility just to work together to address this modern-day slavery. And on the line this moment, we have Advocate Dankiso Mutipi, who is a PPHR coordinator from World Vision Lesotho, just to highlight us on how they are intending to work hand in hand with communities, just to see to it that people know better about human trafficking and how they are addressing this sadly widespread problem. Advocate, good morning and welcome to the Ultimate Radio.
Thank you so much, May, and good morning to you and your listeners.
All right. Advocate, chances are most of us have never witnessed this crime, but from what we gather on a daily basis, we just can't help but to notice that it happens more than we can ever imagine. So for anyone who may not have an idea about what human trafficking is, may you kindly put it in simple terms, what it means and how does it happen?
Thank you so much, and thanks once again for having me. May you just allow me to briefly give you an overview of what World Vision is so that we are at par as to why this anti-trafficking in persons project. Because World Vision is a community-focused, child-focused and a Christian organization. We are more affected with what happens within our communities. So because we have a child at the center of it all, we realized as World Vision Lesotho that trafficking in persons is affecting our communities and most people are not even aware of it, especially in our most remote areas. So that is why we embarked on this 3-year project funded by the European Union Lesotho to eradicate this modern-day slavery. So in simple terms, trafficking in persons is the recruitment of or movement of persons from one place to another, even though sometimes it may be within our borderlines. And as we do that, or as the trafficker moves people or recruits people, it's the use of threats, use of coercion that will be used to lure the unsuspecting persons with the main purpose of exploiting this person.
So, advocate.
Thank you for the promotion. I look forward to that.
So, advocate, you're now holding a workshop on promotion and protection of human rights. Tell us what's been discussed there, or maybe what are you discussing there, and what's its significance?
Okay, thank you, Matt. Because this promotion, the objectives of this project, which is the promotion and protection of human rights project, our objective is to ensure that we capacitate community structures to respond effectively to trafficking in persons. We are training community structures as to what trafficking is, how to spot it at the community level, and monitor the cases as they are being investigated. And so today, we were completing a training with the media houses, our journalists, because they are key informants in educating societies as to what trafficking in persons is. But as we do that, we are very conscious of the fact that if not handled with care, sometimes we may re-traumatize the victims, which is what we're trying to avoid. We need to capacitate our survivors to ensure that indeed they live to tell the story. So this 3-day workshop was to sensitize our journalists, our media houses as to what is trauma-informed care when you talk of trafficking in persons. And we have another outcome in this project whereby we are protecting the rights of people with disabilities. So as we still speak about trafficking in persons, the other main issue now is what are the services granted for people with disabilities? Are they afforded, or do they have access to all the services that the other able-bodied persons have? So So it was essential for journalists to be capacitated around these two topics, which is trafficking in persons and disability.
So kindly highlight us on some of the challenges that are faced with people with disabilities.
So some of the challenges currently as our main partner in this project, one of our partners, not our main partner, I'm sorry, one of our partner, Lamfort, has elaborated, it is that children with disabilities still do not have access to education, as our schools some are not inclusive. For instance, if you speak of sign language interpretation for the hearing impaired, a child who goes to your ordinary school will be declined because there are no skills, no one with the skills to communicate with them. Some of the challenges, for instance, will be access to health services. There are no wheelchair ramps in some of our facilities, even though I know World Vision and other NGOs have made efforts to visit some of these facilities through the CVA model, which is Citizens' Voice and Action model, where we are saying citizens themselves should be in the forefront to say what services do we access. So there have been ramps built on some of the police stations and clinics. Nonetheless, there are still challenges that I've already spoken about.
So, Advocate, as I've mentioned earlier, even though those who are familiar with the term human trafficking may have never experienced or maybe witnessed it before or maybe in person. So I guess it becomes more of a challenge for those who are not even aware that they can be robbed their freedom by some cruel scumbags who are just willing to make profits. So having looked deep into this matter, what are the most challenging factors that contribute to more people being trafficked?
Okay, Ma, thank you so much. The main challenge here, or one of the causes, is lack of employment opportunities. Financially, people are challenged, always looking for better paying jobs or better opportunities elsewhere. That is why most people are vulnerable to being trafficked. And as opposed to what most of us believe, there are people who think that people vulnerable to trafficking are only those who are not very well informed. But today I want to send this message that all of us are potential victims of trafficking, so long as we are not very well informed of it, because mostly the perpetrators are people we know. You find that a friend maybe or even a relative knows that I'm looking for some international position elsewhere. That's when they will come up with this offer to say there is a better paying job in maybe Europe or UK or SA or even here in Lesotho, for instance. And before you know it, there is a plane ticket, everything has been well organized. You are excited to a point that even people who say, hey, there's something fishy about this offer at that point, because you have seen an offer that you never thought existed in the world. You're just saying, I'm going. And before you know it, when you get to the other side, that's when the exploitation happens. And women and children are more vulnerable because the most prevalent form of trafficking is sex trafficking, whereby a woman or a child will be sexually exploited and they're not even getting any benefit. All that happens. This is information that one needs to understand. All that happens to this woman or this child is that they are being offered to different men on daily basis to sleep with them, and the one who is getting paid is the trafficker, and it can be a very traumatic experience. And it's worth noting at this point to indicate some of the red flags of trafficking. For instance, a job offer that is promising unrealistic payments or remuneration. For instance, if one is promised domestic work and they will tell you that we are going to give you 25,000 maludi per month to go and take care of my children. I mean, that's a very unrealistic offer. It's one of the indicators or the red flags where you should know you may definitely be trafficked here. And for those of us among the communities, sometimes you may find that there's a language barrier, because the other issue that I want us to be aware of is there are non-Basotho persons who are trafficked to Lesotho, but we are not even aware. We just say, they work to a particular shop. So you may find that this person is usually in a group of people, but he's stressed differently to that other group. I don't want to mention races here, but you see 5 men dressed in their traditional attire. They're wearing warm jackets and shoes. But there's this one who is shivering, still wearing their traditional attire, but he is not dressed in a jacket. He's wearing sandals in winter, and when you ask, they go like, where we come from, we never get cold. We're not affected by this weather easily. But you can see this person is even blushing on the face. They're freezing cold. But there's a language barrier. That's when we have to alert the authorities. So as World Vision, we are going to have the community committees at the community level. We want to empower the community structures to effectively respond to trafficking in persons. These are the structures that you can report to, who can then alert the police and other service providers to say, there's something strange that I observed in that shop at the village. I see this lady who can hardly speak to someone. She's shabbily dressed. She's dressed not in a manner that you could say she's getting any remuneration. I mean, she could buy a pair of trainer shoes for herself if she's been remunerated. So, yes.
I'm aware that human trafficking can occur to everyone. I mean, it happens to every one of us. But, ma'am, can you kindly tell us, with regards to your studies, who is mostly at risk when it comes to gender, with regards to gender? Is it male or female, or maybe with age? Is it young people or maybe older people who are often trafficked?
Okay, as I have already mentioned, I said mostly women and children are the easier targets.
Okay. This
can sometimes be because of vulnerability in terms of physics, sometimes because they cannot resist that much like a male would do. But at the same time, I said studies have shown, as reported by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, more than 75% of cases of trafficking globally are for sex trafficking. So that makes women and children more vulnerable. But there's also an emerging trend of labor trafficking. And unfortunately, you may find that males are not able to report it when they come back from, say, for instance, here in Lesotho, you have seen there's this issue of the totoma, the illegal mining. Most of, or some of the people who go there are not going there voluntarily. Reports have shown that some live here knowing, thinking that they're going to work in legal gold mines. But when they get there, they find that they are being forced to go for the illegal mining. And when they upon a year or so, when they come outside, that's when they find that police are already here. They're not remunerated for what they were promised, or some are killed there.
Okay, ma'am. So as you mentioned that you're working hard to see that those who have been exploited get to share their stories, which may somehow help those who are not aware at all about this modern day slavery. So how do you get to help or maybe meet the victims halfway in order to recover from the trauma?
Okay, ma'am, thank you so much. I did mention that we have a partner who I talked of Lamford when we talk of disability. We also have another partner, Beautiful Dream Society, whom we're going to work. Beautiful Dream Society is a shelter that provides psychosocial support for people affected, such that they move from the stage of being victims to being survivors. So we're going to work hand in hand with BDS to ensure that those those identified by the project are provided with the required psychosocial support, seeing the psychologist Also, the project is going to identify 300 survivors of trafficking who will be, because I did mention that one of the key causes of trafficking is because of unemployment and economic opportunities. We are going to address that by providing some financial support to those whom we are thinking are ready, they will be empowered to open businesses of some sort. So 300 people are going to be identified by the project. This will be mainly those who were victims of labor trafficking. You can see this person wanted to work but was misinformed. So we are going to have startup for them, which will really respond to some of the challenges faced by our communities.
So you did mention that other people are reluctant to report when they come back, maybe for a number of reasons. But there are still those who are not even familiar of World Vision Lesotho, which is actually the safe haven for those who probably might have been trafficked. So what are the procedures, or maybe the steps they must take to seek assistance? Should they just come to your office, or maybe get to go to beautiful, the center you talked about?
Okay, ma'am, thank you so much. There is indeed help and hope for those affected. You have already mentioned they can come to the office, even though we also going to refer them. There is also the anti-trafficking in persons and migrant control unit within the Lesotho Mounted Police Service unit, Lesotho Mounted Police Services. In all the district of Lesotho, there is a focal person trained by LMPS, who is also one of the key stakeholders in implementing this project. So they can go to the police, and also we have already mentioned Beautiful Trim Society. Yes, they can also go to Beautiful Trim Society, even though Beautiful Trim Society is still within Maseru, but they also have monitors at some of the borders of the country. But because most survivors live in communities, I am sure that the community structures that I have already spoken about are visible within the communities. We also have World Vision offices in the 7 districts of the country at the moment, and these are the offices where they can seek help, because our representation is within all the 7 districts, at the exclusion of Tabatsek, Kachasnek, and Botabot.
Okay, but are you working hard to see to it that you also reach that part of the country?
Oh yes, ma'am. We still do. We still do. It's not like when we get a report that says there is someone who requires help in Botaboti, we will say no. We have partners, as I've already stated, that we are working with the police. The police are in all the 10 districts of the country, and that is the most accurate entry point for any victim.
Okay. Thank you so much, Advocate, for your time. Thank you so much for the highlights.
Thank you so much, May, for having me on your show.
That was, of course, Advocate Dankiso Mutipi right there. Indeed, more efforts should be made to raise public awareness of the problem of human trafficking through public information campaigns and, of course, other means. As I did mention that or maybe human trafficking happens more than we can ever imagine. It's actually booming internationally as people tend to make lots and lots of money at the expense of victims who are just robbed of their dignity. But it's actually good. It's actually good that we now see the governments, we see businesses and NGOs, even citizens taking responsibility just to work hard to address this modern day slavery. So let's just work together just to curb this crime. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for choosing the Ultimate to be part of your best company.